The Vietnam War was technically not a war because Congress never declared it. But for the rest of this video, I'm going to call it a war because there was a draft, and it kind of feels disrespectful not to call it a war. Before JFK was assassinated, he okayed a coup to depose the leader of South Vietnam. Once LBJ took over, there was crazy instability, with South Vietnam changing leadership 8 times in 12 months. LBJ escalated the war after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which may or may not have been totally staged by the government. I'm sure you all let me know what you think in the comments, but conspiracy or not, LBJ had a blank check to do what he wanted in the conflict without Congress's approval. In response to the US investing billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of troops to help the South, the Soviets sent tons of weapons and the Chinese sent an estimated 320,000 troops to help the North. American involvement had detrimental effects on Vietnamese culture in the South due to corruption, the movement of people from the countryside to cities, and a flood of Americanized goods and ideas. The draft in the US disproportionately affected minorities and poor people because they couldn't pay a doctor to say they had something like, bone spurs or asthma. The slogan of the time was, "If you've got the dough, you don't have to go." There were many quote-unquote draft dodgers throughout the Vietnam era, but the one that got the most press was boxer Muhammad Ali. He and other civil rights leaders argued that they didn't want to fight for freedom abroad when they had none at home. He was stripped of his championship belt, fined $10,000, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison, although a later appeal kept him out of jail. Music has always been used as a form of resistance, but many call this the golden age of protest music. Did you know these were protest songs? The DMZ, or the Demilitarized Zone, was nicknamed Dead Marine Zone because the US was not doing well in the fight. Part of the reason for the North's success was the Ho Chi Minh Trail that drivers, many of them female, would navigate at night with one light about the size of an apple. The North Vietnamese forces were so successful at using guerrilla warfare that the US government tried to kill the vegetation they were hiding behind. They used herbicides and defoliants like Agent Orange. Agent Orange not only destroyed the land, but it also caused many deaths and illnesses for people on both sides who were exposed, and still affects people to this day. The American M16 was supposedly one of the least reliable guns used in a modern war. It supposedly jammed all the time and was seen as inferior to the AK-47 being used by the North. The Vietnam moratorium protest was the largest march in history up until that point, with an estimated 500,000 to 600,000 people gathering in DC to protest the Vietnam War. Even Forrest Gump spoke. Military dogs played a huge role in the war. About 4,000 dogs made the trip to Vietnam, but only 200 or so made it back. Some were killed in action, but most were left in the country during the evacuation efforts. LBJ found out the Nixon campaign illegally interfered with peace talks before the 1968 election, but decided not to go public with the information. The Pentagon Papers were about 7,000 pages that illustrated how much the government was lying to the public. Nixon got so scared about this that he tried to get the plumbers to break into 2 different locations to steal the documents and destroy them. The night before Nixon's address that outlined the US's exit strategy from Vietnam, LBJ died of a heart attack. A misinformed ambassador is the reason why the evacuation went so terribly. Shredded documents flew out of bags because they had to leave so quickly, and the North Vietnamese that found them actually taped them back together and hunted down some of the South Vietnamese that were named in some of the documents. About 1.5 million ARVN went to re-education camp, some for over 7 years. Although post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, existed well before Vietnam, the soldiers who returned from Vietnam had such a hard time readjusting that the American Psychiatric Association officially added the term to their manual in 1980. The creation of the Vietnam Memorial was a nationwide contest with over 1,000 anonymous entries. The winner, number 1026, was created by Maya Lin, a Yale undergraduate who received a B for the project. The design was highly controversial at the time, but many people changed their mind when they saw how people reacted to it, especially former soldiers. It's revered as one of the most powerful memorials in the world to this day.